Yes, we all are listening to you.
Hello. If I get a hello, I will speak. If I don't get, I'll repeat hello. 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 Good. So we are going to talk about very briefly 5 minutes India for diversity. Please pay attention to this data because this is something you all need to know, and this is an important information that we have compiled. So our tagline is for an inclusive and progressive India. I'll briefly go through some of these slides. So it will give you a brief overview of what's happening in India currently. So in India, what is the situation currently? Only 8.15% of Indian students graduate in India. And of them, we chose to concentrate on PhDs. How many of us in this room have PhD? So it's indicative of that data even here too. So in the we have divided the data within caste, general and SC, ST, OBC. But in this case, there are almost about 1,23,000 people, students enrolling for a PhD program in India. Of them, the scheduled caste, not of them, but the scheduled caste in comparison are only, if we total, it's about 11,000. So 11,000 scheduled caste and scheduled tribe 3,900 and OBC 24,000. Now here's the funny fact. If you look at the general PhD, this one, the male population, it's 72. If you add all this population of SC, ST plus OBC, it wouldn't even make to what? How many? Sorry, it wouldn't even make to the females that are being enrolled in a PhD program who belong to the non-SC, ST, OBC community. So that's the stark difference we have. And then we also get honorary degrees. Baba Sahib Ambedkar had 2 honorary degrees, one from Columbia and another from Usmania. So honorary degrees are given for people with extraordinary contribution to knowledge, social service, and various other facets. So the Doctor of Laws, there were 34 given to people who belong to the general category. That means there were 34 people they identified who deserved a Doctor of Laws. But when it came to scheduled caste, they could only identify one person. So that's the stark relation. That means the system doesn't see you as someone who is contributing effectively to the progress of a nation, to knowledge, or any sort of social activity. So that's the very depressing picture. Then we have Doctor of Literature. Now we know Dalit literature is a very prominent literature, just to go with this. And we have produced in various vernaculars. We have Kannadiga, we have Tamil, we have Hindi, we have Marathi. Everywhere you go, we have Dalit literature very prominently featuring. So that's how many of you, if you read Marathi, the likes of Lakshman Gaikwad, Baby Kamble. So these are the people who produce. So of them, here's again another thing. 19 people were identified from general category, only one from SC, one from ST, and 5 OBC. So when you look at this, it simply means tokenism. They are just giving one for the sake that scheduled caste might not make a noise. So they just want to give one to a category person belonging to the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, OBC. Now, why should you know this? Because the population of general or the non-SC, ST, OBC is only 15%. So 15% of the population is overrepresented, almost like 98% when it comes to giving. And when it comes to scheduled caste, there is actually less than 1%. I will not go through this scrupulous data, but I will just give you basic information as to your teachers. So you all went to college and you came here. So who are your teachers? Because your teacher is a very important person in your life. In India, we call teacher as our guru, as someone who directed our future, directed our knowledge. If our teacher screws up, we are screwed up. That's as simple as it is. And you all maybe have experienced in your life how your teachers were distant from you, who were never sympathetic with you, who gave you less marks in your practicals, who did not encourage you to go to America to do PhD or masters, or who told you your career is limited to this. After degree, you just go and work for a company. So teachers are very important, right? So who are your teachers? If you look, I mean, you know, all India data says here, 32.9 of them are females. Scheduled caste, only 5.4% of the teachers in all India are only 5%. So 5% of teachers belong to scheduled caste. So when you go into a class, 95% of the time, it's not going to be the person who is coming from your community. If you look at the scheduled tribe, it's more dismal. Adivasis are absent in our education. Meaning if you compare that data, it's just 1.7, it's negligible. So when you go into a class, 98% or 98.3% of the time, there is no Adivasi teacher in your class, in your school. And when it comes to OBC represents significantly 51% of population. They are only 15%. So who is teaching you? There is no scheduled caste, there is no scheduled tribe, there is no OBC. The answer is here. I mean, even let me talk about Muslims. Even Muslim has sizable population. Now, many of us had Muslim teachers, but still, when you go into the classroom, there is only 4% of the chances that you will stumble upon a Muslim teacher. 95 or 96% of the time, there is no Muslim teacher in your classroom. So who is teaching you? This population, who identifies itself as upper caste Hindus. 70% of the time, or 70% of your teachers are upper caste Hindus, and most of them are males. They are not even females. So when you come out of your college or your school, you get a degree. You are actually coming with the propaganda spread by this population, who is teaching you how to think, what to write, how to do research, how to do experiments in your laboratories, how to do the future, how to describe the future of your research, and what not to do. So these are the people who are against you in the caste system. So when you go into a class, these are the people who are in majority, who are going to make sure that you are not going to get adequate exposure the way you deserve. So when you are going into a class, 70% of the time, you are guaranteed. This is a data coming from all India higher education data that was from 2015-2016. It is available on the internet. So what does this signify? This signifies that you are a product of upper caste Hindu propaganda. And also you are subject of Brahminical knowledge that they gave you in your school. So unfortunately, your kids perhaps here not have to undergo those tormenting, but when you are graduating with 70% knowledge of upper caste Hindu male, 5% of scheduled caste teacher, 1% of Adivasi, 4% of minority Muslims. What does this mean? This means when you pass out, a student comes out with the knowledge of strong Brahminical sentiments. And this you can see with your colleagues who are Hindus. They are very brainwashed. They support Modi, they support right-wing nationalism, because when they went to school, they were not given alternative knowledge. They just thought this is how the world should look like. And you see many of such people harboring in our offices, as our colleagues, next to our desk, or perhaps in our family groups too. Briefly, I will talk about, I can talk about, we all know this, right? Vice Chancellors. So this was a RTI many of you saw. So Vice Chancellor is a boss of university. Vice Chancellor can kill a student. Rohit Vemula was subject of Vice Chancellor Podile's Apparau's harassment. So Vice Chancellor is a parent, is a father, is a grandfather or a grandmother of institution. So who are the Vice Chancellors caste-wise? Who are the ones who are making decisions, when to give exams, how to evaluate, what are the social as well as non-social activities to be done in the college or in the universities? Out of 496, only 6 are scheduled caste, 6 ST and 26 OBC. Meaning your knowledge, your teachers are upper caste Hindus, your administrators, the top boss is a person who is non-SC, ST, OBC. If you add on to that, it less than 400, more than 440 vice chancellors are belonging to non-SC, ST, OBC community. Now you know how dangerous the situation is. Second thing is, there is one vice chancellor, there is teaching staff. There is also what we call non-teaching staff. Now, non-teaching staff is a very important person because that person is the one who is going to take your recommendation letters, who is going to provide you sometimes moral or mental support, who is going to make sure your scholarships arrive in your bank account in time. These are the people who are your lab assistants or who are the secretaries to your head of department. These are very important people. These are bureaucracies. What's happening there? Of the non-teaching staff, general category, there is 58.7, meaning 59% of non-teaching staff are belonging to the general category. So when you are asking for a recommendation letter, you all know when you were begging for scholarships, when you were getting scholarships. It was always delayed. It never arrived in time. Bhim Jayanti came, Diwali came, you were still begging because of these instances. You also wanted a recommendation letter from your principal or a admission or a TC or a date of birth or whatever documents you needed for notary. These are the people who do. And when you suffered, you know what's happening there. It's because 58% of them are enrolled, and SCs you can see merely 12% and ST are 3.57. This data is All India Survey on Higher Education. I encourage you all to go through it. One thing I will tell, okay, these are the vice chancellors, right? And now people talk about merit. You all know about merit, right? We are a country who loves merit. It is a meritocratic country. So if the vice chancellors who are supposed to be the top brass and they are performing well, what's happening? This is the report. 75% of vice chancellors unfit to hold post. This is a Times of India report. There is a study done by Andhra Pradesh University. Meaning the people who talk about meritocracy are unfit. 75% of them. I mean, this is a shameful explanation that we have to undergo through this. The people who tell you you don't have merit, the people who constantly told you you were not qualified to be in this class, you just got here because of your reservation, you just got here because of your scheduled caste, scheduled tribe OBC certificate, you just got here because of your scholarship, and you got here because you were unfairly treated us. These are the people who eventually occupy the post, as we saw, and the report says 75% of the unfit. So these are the people who are creating this mythical characterizations the way they have done with the Hindu religion. I will not talk about this. I will talk one interesting thing that you might see. Okay, this is a political. Now you all want to talk about politics, right? So I just would like to invite you to see 1952. There is a category. Blue is upper caste middle Hindus. Red is Muslims. Yellow is non-Muslim, SC is grey, ST is black. Tell me what is missing from 1952. Look at the 1952. ST, meaning when India became independent, Adivasis were still Adivasis. They were not incorporated into the political experimentation of so-called democracy. Adivasis are not represented there. The first elected government, we got transfer of power in 1947, we got constitution in 1950, we went into general elections in 1952, and first Congress's government led by Jawaharlal Nehru was formed. We all know Jawaharlal Nehru was, like we say, secular. This is all bullshit. Look at this. He's not even incorporating the scheduled tribe people. This is the reality, and if you look at scheduled caste, that is because of Ambedkar. Ambedkar was still alive. It was because of his influence and his terror that the Congress had to create so-called tokenized Dalits to be incorporated. Now, let me bring you back to 1957. What's happening there? Do you see any black? Look at 1962. Look at 1964. Look at 1966. Look at 1967. So many governments change, so many prime ministers change. We all will talk about Lal Bahadur Shastri being Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan, Jai Vigyan. Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan. Vigyan was brought by Atal Bihari Vajpayee. Indira Gandhi. We all talked about nationalization. What are they doing? They are still excluding scheduled tribes from there. Now go back to 2014 current government. Tell me what's specific about this. Just give a few seconds glance. You might notice something very significant there. The blue line. Have you ever seen in the independent India's history so many upper middle caste Hindus being represented in the cabinet? 87.7, almost 88%. Your government is run by upper middle caste Hindus, and now you want justice. You want this scholarship to be given in time. This is the problem that we have to address. This is the situation where even those numbers, as you can see, Muslims, other minorities, yes, they are very negligible. They can't make any effective impact. This is the whole issue. अभी ये तुमको अच्छा लगेगा ये So this is about judiciary. We recently had verdict, right? We all trust judiciary. We should not trust judiciary. We should always have suspicion on every organ of state that is coming from unequal power structures. We all say judge has given. Judge is not God. A judge is a Brahmin first. For a Brahmin identity is very first. Now, this was Outlook report. What did it say? 1/3 of Indian judiciary are relatives of former. And now who are relatives? Who are your relatives?
Not mine.
If I call someone my relative, who am I referring to? Someone who is belonging to my caste. Who are? Pahune, apna Marathi, Pahune. Who is Pahune? Do you call Pahune to a Brahmin guy? No, someone who belongs to your caste. So this is the statistics. There are 17,000 judges. And if you look at the women, there are only 4,700 women of them. So when it comes to the issue of women's right, 50% of India's population, women are not even giving the verdict. When it concerns their own right, a male Brahmin most probably is telling the woman what time to wake up, how many hours to work, what time to give a delivery, how much time you need a maternity relief. A male judge is deciding. Now if you go, this is where I want to draw your attention. This says, and this is I'm quoting from Outlook report, the judiciary is accused of monopolizing the higher judiciary. Now this is dangerous. Monopolizing higher judiciary, not lower judiciary. Monopolizing, what is monopolizing? Monopoly means there is no competition. You don't challenge it. Monopoly, that's it, period. Of higher judiciary. And what does that mean? They have put their 28 sitting judges of Supreme Court, and of 28 Supreme Court judges, 9 are close relatives. Close meaning who? Son, a grandson, a nephew. Now who is this nephew of former chief? Current Mishra is a nephew of one of the Mishras who was the Chief Justice of India. So what's happening here? Nepotism and casteism at its best. And now you want these people to give justice to you who are themselves coming with an undue advantage. So with this, I would like you to focus on how do we increase the diversity, because clearly there are no women here. There are no scheduled castes, there are no scheduled tribes, there are no OBCs. A male, probably in his 60s, who has lived his life giving only decisions, giving verdicts, and being brought up in a very comfortable close quarters of caste and class security, is deciding a future. And if this is the situation, the acts are going to be like the current act with the whole issue. The guy in Pune was given immediate relief, but Supreme Court was so excited to bring it up and give this extra evidence, because the people who are there are not your people. And that's why I think when we talk about our gathering, we should talk about India for diversity. Thank you so much.
One comment. Friends, very important comment on all of this thing. You saw logic, on our side. Logic, data, reasoning, everything on our side. That was a time when Baba Sahib said, when logic on your side, how will you lose? You will not lose. Today, that's not the situation. So all of us have to think that logic, that data is, I won't say irrelevant, it will still be required, but you have to do something beyond. Suraj, you have to do something beyond. You need a mass movement to justify your logic. And that is today's comment. Take it very seriously. Take it very seriously. Logic is not going to work. That road, street demonstration might.
Thank you very much, Suraj. Thank you. I know this topic could go forever, and because of the shortage of time, we didn't give you justice for your hard work here, and we acknowledge that. However, within the given period of a time, once again, thank you for those. Actually, it reminded me when we were at Boston and Professor Sukhdev Thorat, when he was presenting, and when he was presenting his facts with the figure and the numbers, it makes a difference. And that's what I can see here, and Suraj, all analysis, all hard work which you did, collecting that mass amount of data, showing where we are. And I totally agree with Kamres's remark. This is this has to be something which sometimes we may not win this way. We have to go other way. So thank you very much, Suraj, and we are very sorry to cut short you, but